Today we're going to show you a boat built by a East Coast manufacturer called Samson Enterprises, and that is a Samson 28.
We are Malcolm and Rachel, and welcome to our channel. We share everything about our retirement lifestyle.
Cheers! Hi there. This is a continuation of our boat search. So we'd like to bring you along for a journey where we're looking for another boat. We've previously done the Cutwater, and this boat's a little bit different, but we'd like to bring you along and we'll explore it as we look for options for our future boats.
Today we're going to show you a boat built by a East Coast manufacturer called Samson Enterprises. They're located on Cape Breton Island in Nova Scotia and make custom fishing, commercial, and pleasure craft. And they're fiberglass boats and all built custom. You can even just buy a hull and finish it yourself.
Yeah, they've got quite the pedigree in boat building. So they've done a lot of fishing boats. They've done a lot of boats that you'd see out on the ocean, just in the commercial setting.
Yeah.
They've done a couple of what I would consider to be recreational boats. Not a ton of them, but their claim to fame is that they will actually give you a hull. So you'll specify the hull size you want. Nothing in it necessarily, or they'll do as much or as little as you want. But they're not necessarily the cheapest, but they're certainly, I think, a fairly robust design, something that's tried and true in the fishing industry.
Yeah, to be used in the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a really good quality, stable platform. And that, as we get into it, you'll hopefully see some of those features as we describe the boat.
So just to review the things that we are looking for our West Coast boat. We really liked our Mainship 390 for the Great Loop, and you can see a tour and review here. But the looping boat is something that's a little different than some of the requirements we're looking for on a West Coast boat. And some of the things we're looking for this are a smaller boat. So we had a 39-foot vessel. We're looking for something smaller.
Yep, something that will fit on a trailer. So something that we can actually pull and store on our property here. So we don't have to have it on a slip and pay those slippage costs. And if there's work to be done, we can do that work while we're next to my tools and next to all the capabilities we have in our garage.
So much more convenient.
Yes.
We're also looking for something not only smaller, but faster. We want to be able to get to places a little faster. We are looking for something that has just a single level boat, no flybridge. We would like to have a comfortable captain's chair, but also a forward-facing co-pilot's chair, which we didn't have before.
Nope.
We'd like to have a dinette. And all the other sort of things in the boat don't need to be very big, like just a small galley, small little head. We said we were okay with the wet head. So we're kind of looking for these particular things. I can't think of anything else.
Well, I mean, no canvas, no isinglass.
True.
We're looking for something that is obviously smaller in length, a little lighter. We're not living on it for a year, maybe a week. So, and as you mentioned, something much faster. So something that doesn't do 8 knots, but maybe does 20 or 30 knots.
Yeah.
So it's something we're going to be keeping more in the Straits of Georgia, which is a little more protected. Still can get a little nasty, but more protected. And obviously all salt water. So there won't be any fresh water really. It'll all be a saltwater boat.
So for that reason, it would be nice to have an outboard so that when you do stop, you could lift the engine out of the water if you are stopped for a period of time and get that engine out of the salt water. Or, if it is an inboard, we'd still like to have a diesel, but I think we're kind of leaning towards outboard maybe. But anyway, onto the boat that we're going to talk to you about today, and that is a Samson 28. So this is a boat built by Samson Enterprises, and this is a 2003 model that we found looking online. And one of the downsides of this boat was that its location. It wasn't located here.
No.
But it is a boat we thought might work well in these waters. So we actually went back to Georgian Bay to see this boat.
We did. So we got on a plane.
Yep.
And it was beautiful weather. And we also took the opportunity to see family. We've got a lot of our family back there as well. So it was a two-pronged approach. But we did go see the boat. It was in a fantastic setting, really on sort of Georgian Bay area.
Such a beautiful waterway.
The owners were extremely gracious people. They welcomed us on board. We explained what we're looking for, and they took us out actually for almost an hour just to try the boat,
a water test,
just to give it a go. And the handling of that boat was terrific. It could turn on a dime.
Mm-hmm.
It was very stable. You stepped onto that boat and it hardly moved. So it was a really solid boat. I think all the things that Samson sort of stands for. It was a wide beam. It had a single level with a nice sort of pilot house kind of thing. The berths underneath were a good size.
Yeah,
they weren't huge.
You would fit in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Had a head. It had all the things that you'd look for, and it was only 28 feet. So, but the 28 feet was offset by the beam because it was quite a large beam boat.
Very beamy for that size of boat.
Yeah.
And so it handled very well in the water when it turned.
It did.
It was a trawler.
Yes.
So it had a trawler shaped hull and even had a fully protected propeller.
Yes.
And the keel went right back under the propeller. So that was good.
And it had a diesel, so it had a John Deere diesel in it.
Mm-hmm.
And it even had I'm not exactly sure the term, but the shaft itself had a bearing on it that just kept it very stable before it went out the back of the boat to the prop. Again, I think that's fishing boat heritage. I think it's there to just provide that extra stability to the shaft as it's running. But it ran very well, started right away, very responsive to the helm. So it was all in all, I think, a tremendous boat for the value that we were looking at.
This Down East style vessel caught our eye in an online listing. With only 2 owners, it has lived in fresh water with its current owner for the last 12 years in beautiful Georgian Bay. It is 28 feet long with an additional 2-foot aluminum swim platform. Built by renowned boat builders Samson Enterprises, the trawler-style hull is solid fiberglass. It has a full keel and protected propeller. Its 11-foot, 3-inch wide beam make it very stable in the water. It had pretty low hours on a very efficient 225 horsepower John Deere engine and could hold as much as 150 US gallons of diesel, giving it a decently long range. It felt comfortable and easy to board this vessel, stepping onto wide gunnels. It had a roomy half-covered cockpit and scuppers that drained directly out. There was a large sliding door into the rear of the cabin with a window and large stainless handle. When you enter, there's a small step up and windows all around, letting in lots of natural light. The cabin has a large dinette on the port side, a galley and helm to starboard. There were 2 grab rails on the ceiling and a small access door beside the captain's chair. The helm was well appointed with GPS plotter, radar, tank monitors and gauges, VHF radio, and fuel flow monitor. The rear of the helm was quite easily accessible from the other side, if any updates were required to the electronics, making installation and wiring pretty easy. Looking to stern, you can see the dinette is a step up, and it can convert to a bed. The galley had a lot of deep storage with a small drawer-style fridge. The forward berth was a decent size. The other 2 small rooms included a head and storage room with electrical panel. This vessel sits well in the water and came with a Rockna anchor and windlass system. After inspecting the John Deere diesel engine and taking a look under the cockpit access hatches, the owner took us out for a ride. The Samson 28 handled very well, and we noticed the owners had removed the bow railings, I guess for better visibility, but something we would prefer to have for safety. Then Malcolm had a turn driving the boat and got a feel for how it handled. Here are some pictures of the boat out of the water so you can see the shape of the hull and the keel and fully protected propeller. There was even a custom frame and winter cover to protect it from snow.
But let's get into what are the things that perhaps didn't set it up for what we're going to be looking for.
Yeah, there were a lot of good things about it, and the things I think that stood out initially were when you went into the main cabin, I guess you can call it. It was just a little short for you.
It was a tiny bit short.
You would be brushing your head on the top.
Yeah, I mean the the top of the salon itself was probably fine,
Yeah.
but they had two grab rails that ran all the way down the length of that salon. And so if you're moving anywhere, on either side of those grab rails,
Yeah,
I'm going to bash my
you'd
head.
hit your head on
So
it
you're in
for
this channel. Your
Mhm.
head's channeled all the way down.
So it was a little tricky that way and not ideal.
Not ideal because you know that when you get out in those waters, there's going to be a fair amount of movement.
Some movement, yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think was of concern to us was the access within the engine room. There was a lot of room around the engine, but you had to kind of climb around in an awkward position, and it would be really hard to access certain things for you. I could maybe get around there, but it would be ideal if we could both get around there.
That was one of the big things.
Yeah.
Is even though the engine wasn't large,
and you could access the engine itself.
Yeah, all the
easily.
top of the engine was actually quite easily accessed. But there's a lot of things on boats that you need to get, or you needed to get in and under the salon deck. And one or two of those things was batteries. The other was the Raycor filters.
Yeah.
And
Things that you'd need all the time.
Yeah, and you should be inspecting all the time.
Yeah.
So the reality for me was getting down into those areas. It was near impossible.
Yeah.
To crawl around and get there. And as Rachel said, she could get there.
Yeah.
That means I would have to take over all the galley duties, which just I can't.
That's not acceptable.
No, I don't think. I think I'd have a mutiny on my hands. So I think.
But the condition of the boat was excellent. They'd actually
it was gorgeous.
redone the outside of the hull. It
Gorgeous.
looked brand new, and the condition of the engine room was it was spotless. You could eat off the floor pretty much.
Absolutely spotless.
Yeah.
This gentleman and his wife had taken such good care of this boat. He had gone to the steps, which I had never heard before, of stripping all the gel coat off the boat when he'd first got it and re-gel coating the whole boat professionally, and it looked spotless.
Yeah.
So there was, you could tell that this individual took a tremendous amount of care with his boat, and that alone was sort of, if the boat fit the bill for us, I don't think it would have been an issue. But I think there's those things that we just talked about, the engine room accessibility. When we took it up and out on the water, speed was an issue.
It was also quite loud.
Yeah, I mean,
it was louder than we expected compared to Stay Cool.
It's got that big diesel, a smaller engine room, and so it really did. The decibels were going up in the salon. But I think, as I said before, the speed was a big issue. It would go 8 to 10, maybe a little bit faster, knots. But it wouldn't be happy running any higher than that. And I think we need a boat in this location that's really going to get up and go a little bit more and get us to point from A to B a little bit faster.
The other thing that was of concern was getting the boat out to the West Coast. We thought perhaps we would be able to get a trailer for it, and I looked into it. But because of the weight of the vessel, I think it was 12,000 pounds dry weight, so actually heavier than that when it's full with fuel and whatever. We were going to have a custom trailer made somewhere in the States. We couldn't even find anywhere in Canada that could do it. And it was just becoming much too cumbersome to worry about. And we want to be able to store it on our driveway on a trailer. So that was obviously not great either. So we were really excited to see this boat before we got there. And we kind of had high hopes for it. But again, we had to get our emotions in check and sort of make a decision with our heads and say, you know what, this doesn't check enough of our requirements on our list, so we got to say no to it. And I think they actually sold it soon after that to another couple, which is great for them. And it'll stay in Georgian Bay, which is kind of probably where it should stay since it's already there.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely a great boat. I mean, you find the right people that want to travel at those speeds with that comfort. It's going to be great for them. Yeah. I think we've just perhaps moved on from the requirements we had with Stay Cool, and we're looking at things that are, as we've said before, it's got to be a little faster. It's got to be trailerable. It's got to be something that is comfortable, but at the same time simple. And so there's all sorts of criteria that we've sort of discarded from when we were on the Stay Cool boat. Yeah. And we're moving to the next chapter of our boating career, I guess, which is going to be something that isn't that boat. But for those people that did buy it, I'm sure they're going to enjoy it. It's a great little boat. And
this was only the second boat we really looked at and actually went on it and looked at it. So there's still a lot more to share with you.
Tons.
And so stay tuned for more updates on our search for a West Coast boat. Thanks for watching.